What's this? Jack Skellington as a Minidoll? What? BrickoMotion. Hello, Claire here. My Halloween town has been overrun with Halloween decorations. And that's a good thing, because today I am tackling The Nightmare Before Christmas. I'll tell you the tale of how I dollified Jack Skellington using paint, Minidoll parts, some cloth, green stuff, some more paint, and a lot of patience. My heroic journey began 2019 when the Disney Collectible Minifigure Series 2 came out. In it were the minifigures of Jack Skellington and Sally. And they looked so great and so unlike the characters they were based on that I decided that they needed a dollification. I started with the dollification process immediately. And I was done like several months after that, and then I didn't film this video for a year. Plus, before I could do anything, I needed to find me some references. If at all possible, I like to find screen captures of the original material, in this case the movie. But this is not the easiest thing to do. Because oftentimes, even if you have very good screen captures, you are not going to have the character posing from the front and then posing from the back, and then maybe even a few shots from the side, just so you can get the whole picture of the entire outfit, so you can recreate it yourself. A much better resource for that are oftentimes actual toys or figurines or whatever merchandise they have made based on the franchise itself. By the way, is Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween or a Christmas movie? And that is a definite yes. That is how I collected many reference photo of Jack. And once I had that, I could cross-reference it with how Lego made their interpretation with the minifigure and devise the plan of how I was gonna do the Minidoll version. One thing was clear from the start, I was gonna use some black Minidoll pants. And then with the torso, I also had not that many options since I needed him to have white hands. I don't paint hands. It's not good for the Minidolls. They can't hold anything after I've painted them without damaging the paint. So that's why I avoid it. And the only male torso with white hands is the one from Prince Charming. Now, ideally, I would have loved for him to also have a white neck, but alas, that is not the universe we live in. So I just painted all of that to match Skellington's tuxedo. Why don't I show you the footage of that? Oh, well, that is because I painted it way back in the Stone Age and we had no cameras back then. I'll take a second here to just appreciate how decent the stripes are overlapping. And to finish the torn suit look, I wanted to give him a cloth tuxedo tail. As a base for the torn tuxedo tail, I took one of the original Lego Minidoll skirts that I had in my collection, just copied the upper part of it, and then drew in the tail part, matching it with the reference photos I had already collected. Up until here, you might have been following with me, and if you're one of those people who cannot see Lego parts being destroyed in any kind of way, well, first of all, I'm not sure that you made it this far because I painted over some of them already. But now's your chance to turn away. It gets worse. Namely, it is very hard to find a cloth material that is not going to tear up with time and use. And way back then, I was still not considering using paper, seeing that it still wasn't invented. So what I did instead is I took one of my old, somewhat torn figure capes and just cut the tuxedo tail out of it. Haha! For some reason, I felt so smart doing this that I found a camera to film it, and now we have this excellent footage of me not really getting where the frame was, but I tried. After the tail was cut, I painted some stripes onto it. And yes, I was very careful to match the stripes to the torso. And I also did the stripes on both sides, which turned out to be a marvelous idea because as this figure was sitting in a translucent box somewhere in my room, some sunlight came down upon it, and over the year, that sunlight did some damage to the paint. The white is not as white anymore on that part that was exposed to the sunlight. And yes, when it came time for me to create the creepy costumes patterns, available at BrickoMotion.com, I've just taken the tuxedo tail I've created here and made it a pattern that you can now enjoy as well. Another accessory that Jack needed was the bat bow tie. Here I made things a bit easier for myself by buying 2 minifigure Jack Skellingtons and then just taking the bow tie off one of them. Now, when I'm dollifying, I want to dollify thoroughly. So in this case, that meant that I would be painting the tiny, tiny, cute little eyes onto the bat and also the white stripes on the wings. On reference photos, I'm not sure that those wings have those white stripes, but it felt right to place them there. So I did, and I think the bow tie is better for it. Now that all of that is said and done, let us move on to the main event. While minifigures can pull off bald heads, at least occasionally, Minidolls cannot. And I was aware of this problem early on. So, I took 3 heads, sanded off their nose, and then because I wanted them to look even more like a skeleton head, which is called a skull, yes, I knew that, I tried that the eye holes on the Minidoll were even more inverted, and I even made a slight indentation for the mouth. Much of this work, I was not sure how well it would turn out, and if at all the heads would be usable. So I tried coating them with some white paint first, just to see if I had made a huge mistake. Luckily that was not so. So on 2 of those 3 heads, I decided to put on some green stuff on the top so that the head would be rounder and we would hide the stud on the top. And I wasn't sure if the man's head or the boy's head would work better with it. So I had to make 2. And then just for funsies, I also gave one of the heads a mini pin hole. You gotta keep yourself entertained while doing all of this, because this process was long. When the green stuff dried, I got to layer the white paint onto all 3 of them so many times. Jack, couldn't you have had like a gray skull or something like that? Because that would require less layers. This took me like 11 layers. Head number 1 is the head I ended up using the most. It's a boy's head with green stuff on top and a mini pin. And a facial expression that just says, huh? And don't we all feel like that sometimes? The second head is a man's head with a somewhat creepy looking face. And not like this one. Not that creepy. But still somewhat creepy. And I would say it looks good for what it is, but I find it kind of a bit too big and too oblong instead of round. But feel free to tell me I'm wrong in the comments down below. The third head was the one without the green stuff on top, and I feel like it didn't turn out as badly as I thought it would. I kind of like it. Apparently changing the skin color from skin color to white somehow changes the effect, and it has a softer expression. I didn't want all of my Jack's facial expressions to be negative. The Jack in the movie thinks he's so cool because he can hold his head in his hand. Well, my Jack can hold 2 heads in his 2 hands and still have a head on where the head's supposed to be. As with any dollification, I love to see the comparison of what the doll looked like before I painted it. Before I used my customization magical powers on it. And this transformation is truly amazing. I mean, you can see the pants are black and the hands are white, and that are all of the similarities that there are. I'm proud of this mini doll. And compared to the original Lego minifigure, I hate to say this, I think mine represents the original Jack way, way better. And I'll just leave it at that. Oh, what's this? Look what I found. My old cloak. It is so ripped. I bet Sally will love it. Until the next time you click on one of my videos, bye-bye. What's this?